again. Let's make sure we're recording. Yes, we are. Let's make sure that you can hear me. Elishaba, I know that you're here with us. Can you hear me before I get started and get too far along? All right. I'll give her a minute to give me an answer. But welcome. This is part 3 of the first module of a 12-week course for creating a mind with heart with the Heart Compass Life Navigation System. And yes, you can hear me. Thank you very much. And we are in module 1, which is getting your brain ready to connect to your heart. We're going to move on to module 2 next week. So I'm so glad you're here. And there are, as a reminder, this is the first time you've been here, there are 4 modules in this course. We're at the end of module 1 right now. And the next module, we're going to connect to the heart so that we can get answers. And then we're going to integrate the heart and mind so that we can put this on autopilot. And then in module 4, we're going to apply it to your real life. And if you have missed any of the other recordings, or if you're seeing this for the first time, I'm going to do this right here. Give me just a moment. Let me find it. Here we are. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I just added, well, it's over there on that side. The Mind with Heart Contributing Community member is right now 70% off. As we move through the live course, it goes up a little bit at a time. So I like to reward people who are here with me live early on. And the price right now is $54. Eventually it will be $180. So it's a 70% savings. That's the time to get in on this right now. But this is the Q&A for part 3 of module 1. And in part 1 of this, the first lecture, we talked about balancing your brain. And we need to balance the brain hemispheres. Actually, we're connecting them. There's a corpus callosum that allows the left and right brain to communicate with each other so that we can feel and think, use the heart and the mind, sense with our body and intuit with our heart, use fear to identify fear-based beliefs that are taking us off course in our lives, and experience inner peace to let us know when we've connected to our heart. Then in the second lecture, we talked about how the heart is actually always connected to the brain. There's a nervous system that connects them together. The heart emits hormones that go to the entire body, but also to the brain. And there is an electromagnetic field discovered by the Institute of Heart Math, which extends at least 15 feet out in every direction that we can measure. And that field is thousands of times more powerful than the field of your brain. And it's sending energy and information to every cell in your body. And the quality of that field is integral to the quality of our health and our ability to hear the heart with our brain. So what is interfering with these connections between the heart and the brain that already exist? We talked about how our current lives are pulling us in all different directions. There's information overwhelm, and we have electronic devices that interfere with the electromagnetic fields of the heart and the brain. And all of those things are interfering with the ability for the heart and the brain to connect effectively with each other. And we talked about some of the ways that we can balance the brain and facilitate that harmony between the heart and the mind. Things like meditation, brain entrainment CDs, listening to music, eating locally grown, fresh, organic foods, getting out in nature, using heart math, quick coherence techniques, and connecting with people. All of those things and more will help us balance the brain hemispheres and make those connections. And we talked about mindful awareness. And mindful awareness allows you to describe a current circumstance or event in your life in neutral, non-judgmental terms so that you can ask yourself, what am I thinking and what am I feeling? When you do that, you identify the false fear-based beliefs that are giving substance to that neutral situation. And I'm going to talk more about that because you have questions about that, and I'm going to answer those in a few moments. Um, those fear-based beliefs are what disrupt the electromagnetic field of your heart. They create imbalance in your brain. They activate the fight or flight center in your brain, the amygdala, and they make it impossible to receive heart intelligence. So we want to write those down to take care of this. Write them down on Post-it notes because it's been scientifically proven that that moves the activity in your brain from that fight or flight center to the prefrontal cortex, which is your area of conscious awareness. And then we take those Post-it notes, we take those thoughts and feelings, which are invisible, non-physical energy and information, and we make it into a physical thing, which we can then stick to the off-course side of your Life Navigator's chart. Now, if you have not yet downloaded your Life Navigator's chart and your Heart Compass Owner's Manual, it is free. To get there, just go to the Expertise TV navigation bar above me, and you'll see a drop-down menu. It says Your Communities. You drop that down and click on Mind with Heart Virtual Learning Center. And when you get there, above the community posts, you'll see something that says Professional Services. It's small, it's gray. Click on it though, and it opens up a window, and you can find your free Heart Compass Owner's Manual there. And in the Owner's Manual, you will find this Life Navigator's chart. And what this is doing is it is giving your heart a target. It's telling your heart what you want to focus on, what you want to replace with love-based truth when we access the heart in the next module. So this is getting us all prepared to do that. Now we have well over 200 members in our community now, and most of you actually have been answering my polls and sending me questions and interacting with me. And I'm very grateful for that because that helps me tailor all of this to your needs more accurately. And one of the first things that I did was send out a poll asking you, what did you want most from this course? And far and away, almost everyone said spiritual awareness and feelings of connection. And that's great because spiritual awareness, becoming aware of that connection to the heart and that feeling of connection to the heart will allow you to access the information, the heart intelligence that you need to feel and look younger and smarter and happier and healthier, and to overcome that doubt and confusion when you're trying to make an important decision. It gives you information that you need to be successful in your job, business, or career, to raise your kids so that they feel happy and confident and secure, and to put an end to the hatred, anger, and blame that we're seeing in our relationships and in our political relationships as well. And in another poll, the second poll, I asked, what was the current condition of your brain? And most of you said foggy, not focused. Not surprised. That is one of the effects of left brain dominance. Monkey mind, can't turn it off. That's another left brain dominant thing. And some of you did say pretty clear most of the time. So I was glad to hear that. Some of you have actually done quite a bit of work already. And then I asked you, what was the most challenging area of your life to observe in those neutral, non-judgmental terms? And not surprisingly, relationships, which are the most challenging but give us the most opportunities. They push our buttons. Those buttons are our false fear-based beliefs. So I'm going to talk more about that when I'm answering some of your questions. And financial, money, work, job, career, access to resources. Money in our society is given substance with fear-based belief in so many ways. As a result, science has found that when we spend money, it tends to trigger that amygdala, the fight or flight. And when we receive money, it tends to trigger the dopamine center, which is related to addiction. But we can change that. Money is a neutral, non-judgmental term. If we can look at it that way, and then we can take the fear-based beliefs that we're using to give substance to it and replace it. So I have found in talking with you and with clients over the years that these are the four most common mistakes that we tend to make. Number one is believing that a fear-based belief is true. And when I say that, What comes to mind is a long time ago, I had a client, and he was married, having his second kid. He had a business, and he said that the one thing he wanted to work on was that he had no time anymore to go to the gym and work out. So I told him, write that down. I have no time. And he did. And then he looked at it and he goes, but that's true. I have no time. And I said, how does that feel? And he says, well, it makes me feel, tense in my body and resentment and all these things. And I said, what does that tell you? What's that indicating to you? He said that it's a false fear-based belief. Many of you are asking me, how can I tell the difference between what's coming from the head and coming from the heart? The brain uses false fear-based belief to give substance to this physical reality, to give the illusion of separation. And the way to identify it is by how it feels. So then I took him through the rest of the process, and he was able to find a balance in his life as a result, to be able to get to the gym, take care of his family and his business. So when I saw him again, he was very happy and healthy. Trying to replace fear-based beliefs with affirmations or positive thinking. Research is beginning to show that when we try to use affirmations, putting up, I am wonderful, or I'm a millionaire, or those types of things, putting up pictures and words all over the house, trying to convince the brain that that's what's real, then you're creating this cognitive dissonance. It creates stress. Stress is going to disconnect you from your heart. So that really isn't a good way to access your heart for love-based truth. And we'll talk more about that later. Not writing it down, or writing it down in a journal. Some of us like to keep a journal, and we write down all those negative fear-based thoughts and feelings in a journal. We close it up and we put it away. That's telling your mind to keep that stuff. We're going to do something different in this system, and we're going to get there in module 3. So stick with me through this course, because we're going to deal with that. And then another question, it's actually coming right up, I believe, is the ability to see things in neutral terms. If you're using terms like I am, he, she is, they are, it is, then you're not going to be able, it's a lot more difficult to see things in neutral terms using those words. You might say, okay, for example, I used the overweight example previously, and you might say that I am overweight or I am fat. That is not who you are. So it's not a love-based truth. It is a fear-based belief. A neutral way of describing that would be that my body weighs, say, 250 pounds, which for most women would be more than it should be. And then, or if you say things like, oh, this was the example I was going to use. I've done this with somebody else. Let's say you're talking about your boss, and if you say he is a jerk, or she is a bitch, or whatever it is, then that's not a neutral term. And so you're giving energy to that. That's going to make it difficult for you to identify the fear-based beliefs. What you want to say instead is, my boss gave me X amount of assignments this week, and I was not able to complete them. Or my boss, she promised me that I would have 3 weeks of vacation this summer, and when it came time, she only gave me 10 days. And then there are results of that. Once you have that neutral situation described, then you can ask, what am I thinking? What am I feeling about it? So let's go on to some of these questions, because these are going to become more clear as I answer your questions. This is a perfect example. Marion asked me, she says, I'm having trouble with the homework because I find it difficult to write things down in a non-judgmental way. Can you explain to me better what you mean by this? Okay. Just because you write something down in non-judgmental terms does not mean that you're not going to have thoughts and feelings about it. Okay. You might write down that my boss promised me 3 weeks of vacation, and when it came time, only gave me 10 days, or gave me 10 days. You wouldn't even put the only in there. You're still going to have thoughts and feelings about that, but you're using neutral terms to describe that. And I'll go into this more in module 3, because what I'm doing is I'm setting up your brain and your heart and your whole mind body system to put this on autopilot. And one of the first things that has to happen is to be able to perceive the situation as it is, just as a fact. That doesn't mean you're not going to have thoughts and feelings about it, but it allows you to identify them. So I hope that that clarifies it a little bit. You're going to have thoughts and feelings about it, but watch your words. And actually, there are some more questions here that I'll be able to make that more clear for you, Marion, as we go on. Now, this one, I know it's long, but I love this one so much, so I wanted to include the whole thing. Samantha said, I've been heavily left brain dominant my whole life due to parenting. Our school system, our Western society is going to make us left brain. It's going to happen. She says, I've been working hard, firstly, to access my heart. Seriously, the first time someone told me to open up my heart, I hadn't a clue what she was talking about. And the same thing happened for me when I first started this and I received the life navigation system. And I was like, go to my heart. What? So now she says, my question is, now that I've learned well and truly how to access my heart, how beautiful it feels, and how much more balanced my whole life is when I give my heart a voice, how do I keep my heart space open outside of meditation or consciously being aware of doing it? Can it ever become natural that the two exist in balance, or will it only happen when I consciously tap into it? That's great, because in the next module, we are going to be working more on accessing the heart for love-based truth. I am going to be sharing with you techniques for keeping the heart open. But in module 3, that is when I'm going to show you how we put this on autopilot. Yes, it's not only possible, it's the whole purpose of doing this. What we're doing is we're creating a new pathway between the heart, mind, body, brain, and everything, so that when you perceive a situation in your life, it eventually gets to the point where it, instead of triggering the brain to give substance with fear-based belief, it goes, oh, fear-based belief, access heart, replaced with love-based truth, and your experience is like that. It's not going to happen every time in every area. We're still going to get triggers in our relationships, in the deeper things where we need to do some conscious work. But I can tell you it happens more and more. And she says that the webinar is at 5 a.m. for her. I understand that the vast majority of you, 99.999%, watch this as a recording, and that's just fine. So who's next? Curtis. Yes. Curtis has been doing the work. He put 4 fear-based beliefs in the off-course column of his chart, and he thinks that his core belief or distrust of his world is underlying another 3, which he has not shared with me yet, but maybe sometime. It's frustrating. He says it's frustrating to see it, and he's reluctant to deal with the anger and sadness of being isolated. So, Curtis, I want to give you some tips right here, because this is an example of saying, if you're saying being isolated, that's kind of like telling yourself, I am isolated. Another way to describe that would be the facts of what is it, the facts of your actual life situation right now that could be bringing up these feelings of being isolated. Because the truth is that there are people who would live in exactly the same circumstance or situations that you have, would have exactly the same experiences, and not be feeling isolated because their thoughts and feelings about it are going to be different. So it's important to be aware of that. If we're telling ourselves, I am isolated, that keeps us stuck in it. We're not able to identify the fear-based beliefs that are creating that experience, and that keeps the cycle going and going. So just do a little rewording there and try again, see what happens. He does say it helps to nail this to the off-course wall. Yes, because you're taking those invisible thoughts, feelings, and ideas and moving the activity from the unconscious amygdala to the conscious awareness here. And you have some hope that this demon won't go into hiding again. It won't. We're going to go to the heart and replace it with love-based truth, and it will be turned right side up again. You don't have to worry about it going into hiding. I have not found in my life or anyone else that I've worked with that these things resurface. This seems to be so far as I can tell, a permanent transformation. So even though you can't attend live, I know you're watching the recording. So thank you so much for contributing that question, Curtis. One of the reasons I like to do these is because as I work with people, I find the answers that I give to others are valuable, have so much valuable value to others. So I want to be able to share them with all of you here. Anna and Nell are talking about anxiety or being anxious. I realize that they're actually two different questions. I'm going to talk, excuse me, to Nell first. I misunderstood the question at first. She's talking about the HeartMath feedback devices. They have a program you can use on your computer. They have a handheld device. I think what's happening with that now is that you're getting into like a testing kind of state of mind type thing. It's like, am I going to pass the test? Am I going to be coherent? Because that's what the HeartMath feedback system does. It tells you if the electromagnetic field is going to be coherent. It actually measures your heart rate variability. And and worrying about passing that test is what is going to cause the anxiety. Excuse me just a moment here. Most of our lectures are very short and content driven. This is Q&A, and I want to be a little more relaxed. I'm sitting down, sipping some water, so we can take a little more time to go a little more deeply into these areas. What I would suggest that you do for this situation now, if you want to continue using HeartMath feedback systems, is to describe what's happening in neutral terms. Just saying, when I sit down to use the HeartMath feedback system on my computer, just what are the results that you get back from actually using it, and then identify the thoughts and feelings that you have about it, and write them on the post-it notes, put it on the off-course side. When you get the love-based truth from the heart, that is going to help you overcome this test anxiety. And anyone else who has test anxiety, this is the way that you do it. Just write down in neutral terms that I'm sitting down to take a test, and I read the question and my mind goes blank. Fact, just a fact. And then you can start identifying the thoughts and feelings you have about it. And then when we get love-based truth from the heart, we'll be able to replace those. How can we use life navigation to delete anxiety? Well, I just gave you an example, one way of doing that. Heart Compass Life Navigation, it reduces anxiety because the steps that we are taking are balancing the brain. So when you get that left and right brain balance, you're going to feel more calm. We're taking those fear-based belief triggers and moving them to the prefrontal cortex. That immediately, you're just not activating the fight or flight anymore. And then when those fear-based beliefs, which you identify using this system, are replaced with love-based truth, I call it love-based truth. I'll talk more about that in Module 2, from the heart, then those fear-based beliefs, those triggers that are causing the anxiety, that are disrupting the field, that are activating the amygdala, have been deactivated. When they're deactivated, there won't be feelings of anxiety anymore. So deleting anxiety is more of a byproduct. It's not so much the goal. The goal is going to be to replace those fear-based beliefs with love-based truth, so that you're going to give substance. And I'll talk more about that in Module 3, how that transforms your life in some very deep ways. Now, Lisa and LaShonda are talking about healing the body. And I want to put a disclaimer here. I never promote Heart Compass Life Navigation as a tool for physical healing, because that's just not my strong suit. It's just not where I'm coming from. But I want to share my own experience with Heart Compass Life Navigation and my own physical healing experiences. And the most significant one happened to me in the previous year. I had some kind of discomfort in my neck. We thought maybe a disc was out of joint or something. And finally, they decided, well, we have to do an MRI. That's the only way that we can see those tissues there. And so they did an MRI on my neck. And then the doctor comes in and she says, "You have these spots on your spinal cord." And she says, "I think that's MS." So, and that's multiple sclerosis, which is a very serious condition. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I immediately went to Life Navigation to write down the facts of what had happened and to get love-based truth. And I can't go into the details of some of the things that I did as a result of that. But then we decided to do an MRI of my entire brain. And yes, we found the spots. But the neurosurgeon who sat down with me said, you've the way this looks, you've had this probably for at least 20 years. He said, "Do you remember having symptoms?" And I go back and I go, well, yes, that really had a lot to do with the disruption in my marriage and my inability to work, things happening back then. But then about 15 years ago, I started using Heart Compass Life Navigation, and those symptoms started to disappear. I have no proof. This is an anecdotal story, completely anecdotal. Um, those physical symptoms, the mental and emotional symptoms started to reduce and then disappear. And now, 20 years later, we're taking a picture of my brain. And yes, I had MS, but apparently I'm not experiencing the symptoms now. So it all started because I had a little discomfort. I have a little arthritis in my neck. And then we found this other thing. I can't prove that that's what happened. I also know that 98% of all physical illnesses are supposed to be caused by stress. Stress is caused by false fear-based belief, giving substance to your physical life experience. So yes, when you identify those and replace them with love-based truth, then the goal won't be, I wouldn't advise you to focus on the illness or the problem that's in your body, because that is just, an end result. It's a symptom. When you identify the fear-based beliefs that you're using to give substance to your relationships, to your money situation, to your body, all of those things, then as that heals and the field of your heart becomes coherent and your cells are able to receive the energy and information that comes from the heart. And I'll talk about that more in module 2, because that's a biggie. That's very important to your physical health. Then those chronic diseases should be relieved. I'm not going to say they're going to be, because that is not the focus of this. I'm not a doctor, and but that's what I've experienced in myself and other people's lives. Now, let's see. This is about, when do you know it's your heart speaking? When is it your head? And this came up when I was talking with Cosma, because she was saying that she was in a job she doesn't want to be in, and a relationship she doesn't want to be in. And she feels like she has to get away from those relationships and those jobs before she'll be able to access the heart. In other words, she was saying, isn't that my heart telling me that I need to leave this job? Isn't it my heart telling me that I need to get out of this relationship? Let me think about this for a moment. If we're in a relationship or a job and we're giving substance to it with fear-based beliefs, and we think that we think that that's our heart telling us that we have to get away, we might leave that job, leave that relationship, go to another job, another relationship, and guess what? Yeah, we're going to recreate the same experience. And relationship coaches will tell you this. I'm not a relationship coach, but I've heard it from relationship coaches, and they will tell you this, that if you just, that's why people run from one relationship to another. They get married over and over and over again. And in the beginning, there's all these thoughts that, if I find this new person, I get this new relationship, all is going to be well. And there's all those hormones and excitement of falling in love, and it's all great. And then those fear-based beliefs kick in again to give substance to that relationship. And guess what? You find yourself in the same boat. And once again, you're saying, oh, I'm, always ending up with the same kind of person. You're creating the same kind of person over and over and over again. My advice in these situations is that if you can stay in the job and stay in the relationship, let it push your buttons, let it be a challenge. describe it in neutral terms instead of saying that he is a jerk or he is this. Now, if it's physically abusive, or if you're in a job that, is you're being abused or something like that, get out, of course, and do your work on your own. I've done that with some of my clients. They had to be on their own to do their work first before it was safe to be in a relationship with others. But if you can be there and describe it in neutral terms and identify your fear-based beliefs, you may or may not stay in that relationship. I don't know. But if you can use that relationship to identify the fear-based beliefs, you will either transform that relationship into something that you always wanted it to be, or you will be able to move on. Someone will come into your life who will be an expression of the love-based truth from your heart. And I'll talk more about that in Module 2, how that works. So the confirmation that it's from your heart instead of your mind is that your heart draws you towards things, okay? It's not, the heart is not fear-based, okay? So let me give you an example from my own life. Every once in a while, I'm human. I'll wake up and based on maybe what I did the night before, I'll go, oh, I don't want to do this today. And then I stopped and I asked myself, how does that feel? And so I was like, okay, that doesn't feel good. So I wrote on the Post-it note, I don't want to do this today. Put it on the off-course side, did the process to find the love-based truth. So what I used to do is, oh, I don't want to do this today. And I would try to find something else that I did want to do that felt better. You're just avoiding replacing a fear-based belief. And that can get in the way of moving towards what your heart truly desires, what your heart is trying to draw you towards. So the way to tell the difference is that the heart feels calm and peaceful. There's a knowing. It's drawing you towards something that feels good, that's joyful, peaceful. And your mind, your brain is fear-based and telling you that get away from this. You've got to leave. You've got to change this in some way, or if I have this, then it'll be better. Those types of things. And there's a lot more to that. We're going to work more on that in Module 2 when we're accessing the heart for love-based truth. I'll teach you more about how to tell, when it is coming from your heart. All right. But I hope that helped a little bit. So, all right. Brian is asking me, what do I think about earth stones? People do ask me at times, what about earth stones? What about crystals? What about these metaphysical tools we use? I have a friend who has sacred geometry tools that are wonderful. The truth is that we are the ones who give substance to the thought forms in our lives. And an earth stone or a crystal or sacred geometry, those are thought forms, and we give substance to them. Now, who we are as a community, all humanity is one, we give substance to things also as a group. So over thousands of years or centuries or whatever, we tend to give substance or qualities to things like crystals or gold or whatever. And now when we measure them, they actually have a physical effect because they have all that power imbued into them by us. For example, Masaru Emoto, who studies the power of water, and you take the word thank you or appreciation and you put it on a bottle of water, and he does this process where you can see how the crystal is formed. We're the ones who are giving that energy, that frequency to the word, the thought form thank you, to the word appreciation. And a way to prove this is, for example, the word sick. Okay. In modern, recently in culture, the word sick is coming to know something else. Sick could be, oh, I'm not well, it's not healthy. And now sick for some, the younger generation means, oh, that's cool, So if you took that same word and put it on a bottle of water, you might get different results depending on who put the word on the bottle of water. So when you take an earth stone and someone tells you that this has these qualities, that it will bring your heart field into harmony, that it will balance your brain, that it will do these things. And if you feel that, if you can feel that in your being, then yes, it does that. You're actually the one who's bringing your heart into coherence. You're actually the one who's balancing your brain, and you're doing it by giving this earth stone that quality. So if it does that for you, then absolutely use it. Um, and that's all the advice I can give. I don't really recommend these types of things to anybody in particular, because we're all unique beings, and we all know that two people do this exact same thing and get different results. So all I can say is that use your own inner guidance. If you know how to do muscle testing, you can do that. Your body will help give you feedback to let you know if your heart field is coherent or not. And if it helps you, absolutely use it. And Catherine is asking me, what's my opinion or relationship with my heart math? I'm so glad you asked, Catherine. One moment here. I'm very glad that you asked, because I discovered heart math several years after I started using Heart Compass Life Navigation. And the reason was that Heart Compass Life Navigation came to me one night. I was using Law of Attraction, having all of those problems with vision boards and affirmations that so many of us do. And I wanted another way. I just wanted to know, how do I access the love-based truth? How do I access my heart's true desires? And I woke up with Life Navigation in my mind and started using it. And then when I started getting these answers from my heart, I was like Samantha. I was like, whoa, what is this? So I went on the internet. This was early 2000s. And all I could find about the heart was things like heart attacks and heart pressure and all those things. And then finally one day, Heart Math shows up. And I go to heartmath.org. That's where you can find all of their scientific research papers. You can buy their books. You can find their quick coherence technique. A lot of free information there. And that is what helped me understand how this works. And I like to share their scientific information. It helps my left brain accept, what is going on here. I do have an affiliate relationship with HeartMath. However, so many people already know about HeartMath that they already have cookies on their computers. And by the time they get to me, I don't get the affiliate whatever revenue, but I don't care. I still tell people about HeartMath all the time. They are probably more responsible for getting the information about the heart out there. They are, for sure, than any other organization in the world. All right. I'm going to take a quick look over here. Okay. So Elisheva, who's with us here live today, has asked a couple questions here. I want to answer them before I move on to our conclusion. So she says, when we write a false fear-based belief on the Post-it note, do we write our feelings on more Post-it notes? Like, I feel like I am lazy, or I feel like I won't succeed. I fear that my health will not get better. Okay. All right. So I feel like I'm lazy. So I am lazy is a false fear-based belief about who you really are. Who you really are, when you get the love-based truth from your heart, will be obvious. We are love, light, truth, and light. And to say I am lazy. So if you believe that you're lazy, then you would ask yourself, how do I feel about that? And it might be things like, okay, if I am lazy, then I will never accomplish what I want in my life. And if I don't accomplish what I want in my life, then I won't get the approval of others. If I don't get the approval of others, then I won't be happy. I mean, you dig down until you get to something which is, absolutely ridiculous. That if I am lazy, then no one will ever love me. Okay. I mean, something that is so obviously not true, because I know, Elishva, that you have people in your life that love you. I'm just using this as an example. I don't know where it's going to go. Okay, so I won't succeed. My health won't get better. All right. Yeah, that's digging down. Okay, if I'm lazy, I won't succeed. If I don't succeed, then my health won't get better. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't put the feelings there. I would just put just write down, yeah, you could just say, I am afraid that my health will never get better. And if my health never gets better, then I will never succeed. And if I never succeed, then I will never be happy or be loved or whatever. And then when you get to that point, then you realize that, of course, I'm happy sometimes, and of course, I'm loved. And that's when we're going to move to the next module, getting love-based truth from the heart. And you're going to replace those. So, all right. So what is my answer to this? I would just say, yeah, you could say, I fear that my health will not get better, or you can just say, I'm afraid that my health will not get better. I'm afraid I won't succeed. And if I don't succeed, then I won't be loved, that type of thing. All right. So then she's saying, what I mean to say is, after the neutral post, do we write the fearful or irrational fears? So yes, first you describe the neutral thing. For example, you said you're afraid your health will not get better. I don't know what the specific health situation is. If you want to describe that in neutral terms, you would write that I went to the doctor and I was given this diagnosis. Just the facts. I went to the doctor and this was my blood pressure. I went to the doctor and this was my weight. Okay. Or, that type of thing. You want to just do the facts. And then you can identify what I think and feel about it. I'm afraid I will never recover from this. I've been told by the doctor there's no cure. I mean, things like that. So yes, first write the neutral. And you can put the neutral on a Post-it note. I do that. I'll just write on a Post-it note first, the neutral situation. The doctor just told me I have MS, or I might have MS, fact. And then I start identifying, oh my God, I have friends who had MS, and I'm going to end up in a wheelchair, and so on and so on. And until you get to a core fear-based belief. We'll talk more about that when we get to module 2. So the chiropractor did muscle testing. Can you do it on your own? Yes. The way that I do muscle testing, and you can try this with yourself, is that I use the thumb and finger technique. Okay. And you have this one here. And what you do is first you say, okay, my name is George. Obviously not. My name is Alana. Okay. It's firm. And then I am ready to test truthfully, free from fear, doubt, and desire. Yes, I am. And then you ask, like I might be asking, is coffee okay for me to drink? All right, maybe I shouldn't be drinking coffee. And then I might ask, okay, is it better, for me to drink organic tea? Yeah. All right. I don't know if I'm ready to give up coffee, but my muscle testing is telling me that's definitely the way to go. So yes, you can learn how to do muscle testing that way. And and it's just you just practice. That doesn't always work for everybody. You can look it up online. Okay. So let's see. So those are some great questions. We'll work more on this as we go along. When I get to module 2, I'll address this some more. And okay. So I hope some of those answers helped a little bit. And of course, if it turns out that you want to work with me one-on-one, if you go to professional services, I think I have 1 or 2 openings left. You might want to contact me first to see if I have 1 or 2 spaces left for one-on-one coaching. So next time now that we're doing this, once we get neutral terms and identify some fear-based beliefs, then we're ready to start connecting the head and the heart. They will be able to start communicating with each other. And if you have not gotten your life navigation kit yet, you're going to need it. And like I said, if you go up to the Expertise TV navigation bar and open your communities go to the home page and click on Professional Services. The Life Navigation Kit is there, and you can build a physical kit or you can use the virtual one that I showed you in the previous slide. And this is just a reminder that this 12-week course is made up of 4 modules, 8 lessons, and 4 Q&As like this. We are in Module 1 right now. If you want to access the recordings of this, once we get into Module 2, 3, and 4, then you can still save 70% right now until next Wednesday, May 3rd. And there is over there a description of that solution, and you can purchase it now. Or you can go to professional services later if you don't have your credit card or you need to talk to someone first, $54. And then in the next module, we are going to move to connecting with your heart. We're going to start accessing your heart for love-based truths to replace those fear-based beliefs. And when you experience that, when you start experiencing that, and then finding how it sticks, it doesn't go away. This isn't like affirmations where you have to, struggle and wake up every day and remind yourself, this war that goes on in your head between the positive and the negative. When you replace one of these fear-based beliefs with love-based truth from your heart, it lasts forever. And I think you're really going to love that. So that's going to be part 1 of Module 2. There's going to be 2 lectures and another Q&A like this. And if that's all, I think that's all the questions. Let me check one more time. Yes. Well, I hope that was helpful. If you have any more questions, then I am here. The only time I'm not here is Friday and Saturday. I do take Friday and Saturdays off. And so, but you can go ahead and leave other questions for me. You can leave a message. I do answer those messages. I do get back to you. And I'm here to help. So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in Module 2 when we're going to start getting those love-based truths from the heart. And that's when it gets fun. And that's when we start getting really happy. Okay, that's when the magic starts to happen. So I will see you then. Thank you again. Bye-bye for now.